want to do another training on another edge, and I want to kind of combine a couple together. Um, and I want to do scalping, right? And I want to do scalping with chart plays, right? Technical analysis. So when I say technical analysis and scalping, do you guys know what that means? Does everybody understand what a scalp is? Okay, so scalping is, here, we'll just run through this presentation real quick. Yeah, so scalping versus others, psychology, so here we'll go through what it is, examples, and all that. We'll just do a quick run through of this. Quick trades over a period of the day, heavily relies on tape reading. I use it a lot with stocks with high R volume, right? So you got a lot of people trading it, right? Gets more liquidity, and you use extremely short time frames. So these aren't you don't look at a 1 minute chart to decide if you're going to play a 78-minute chart, right? And so you're trying to get in and you're trying to get out quickly. And there was times where I would have thousands of trades a day, and it's because every single one of these green arrows and red arrows is a trade: buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, or short, short, cover, short, cover, short, cover, short, cover. Okay, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to capture um, small gains, but you're using bigger size. Now you have to develop the strategy, and you have to be able to say, "Hey, here's my strategy, and I can go big size on this because I have tight stops." If you are not disciplined and stopping out, you can't be a scalper. If you don't care about stopping out, like I honestly could care less. I could sit here and stop out over and over and over and over again, and it literally has no effect on me. So you need to be able to stop out if you want to scalp. Now, the goal here is if you make 10, 20, 25, 50 cents on these number of shares, this is the profit that you'll get. So I'll trade with relatively big size, 5, 10,000 shares, and if I can scalp out 50 cents, I can get 2,500 bucks, $5,000, right? It starts to add up if you can control the risk. Again, risk, risk, risk. Now, scalping is a quick hitting day trade. You're not interested with fundamentals. You're not dealing with overnight risk. Your hold time is minutes versus days, but you're using the same technical analysis that you use on any other time frame. You have to be extremely quick at decision making when you're scalping. It's got to be boom, 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 and you've got to be able to think quickly. If you're not a quick thinker, you might want to stick to like swings. Now, the TPS method is the exact same thing as scalping. It's just over different periods of times. You're looking at same chart patterns. You're looking at support and resistance, and you're doing it over a longer period of time. Okay, so the psychology of scalping, it's basically you're dealing with FOMO. How many of you guys have felt FOMO, right? I'm sure we all have. And if you felt it, then you understand the greed that comes in. It's like buy, 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 right? And you're trying to capture these people that are chasing, and you're doing Momo trades to the up and to the downside, and you're trying to scalp out a little bit of a win. Now, what I do for myself is what I use scalping for is to allow me to set up a longer term play. So I'll give you an example of one that I've been doing today. And what you want to do is have discipline and control emotions. That's it. If you can't be disciplined in swing trading, you're never going to be disciplined in scalping. So, for example, on NVIDIA, I've been scalping NVIDIA today, and we've been going down pretty much all day, right? And so what I've been doing is I started buying NVIDIA right here on this green arrow. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here, right? This is why I started buying it. So I'm buying and I'm selling, right? So buy. Let me get my EpiPen out. So So this is scalping, right? I've got a level that I want to play against. It's my first hit. I'm going to buy it. We've got a little bit of a pop. I'm going to sell some. I'm going to sell some more. So now that I've gotten $3 to $4 of profit out of 66% of my position, that means this cost basis now is down here. So I can choose to either trail stop this out, stop out break even, or try to add to my position again, right? And what I was looking for was a double bottom inverted head and shoulders type pattern to set up, because that's just what I play. Those are my favorite patterns. Well, we got the inverted head and shoulders, right? As it was coming down here, being able to buy again, right? And then buy, sell, right? Once again, I'm able to scalp out. And so my original cost basis for the original buy goes from here to even lower, right? So now I'm sitting on a cost basis of this smaller position that I've got, like at 850, right? So this is what I'm trying to do. Now it came back and it's like, well, maybe it's going to hold again. Maybe we're going to put in this inverted head and shoulders. All right, well, let me buy some more, right? It didn't quite do what I wanted it to do. So this particular one, this last one, I have to stop out of. But this one I can still hold. All right, so on this one, I lose a couple dollars. So -2, and then we've got +4 and 3 over here. And we've got plus 5 and 7 over here. So, your total overall win rate is still bringing your first original cost basis. Now, instead of it being 850, it's more like 860, right? So what this is allowing me to do, all this scalping, is it's saying, you know what? I'm trying to dig a ditch that's going to allow water to flow in and give my family drinking water for a long time. And ultimately, my ultimate goal is, let me see if I can scalp out a position in NVIDIA today so that I can hold through AMD and SMCI's earnings tomorrow. Because what happens if they come out and crush it? What happens if these both come out and crush it? Right? Well, NVIDIA is going to go up a lot. Now, what if they come out and suck? Right? Well, NVIDIA is probably going to go down. So I need to create an environment where I'm safe, but it still allows me to play the upside. So what I'm doing on this particular play is I'm using charting, I'm using support and resistance levels, I'm playing patterns, trying to, and if they work, right, it's going to go. If it doesn't, I'm safe. Let's just stop out. Right? So this is scalping in real time and playing it. So what you'll see me do on my Excel sheet home tab, it's all for scalping, right? I'll have, hey, this is what I think that it's going to go down to historically. This is what it's done, right? So I'll buy at support levels. I'll sell some at VWAP. I'll sell some at high a day, right? And I'll sell some more as it keeps going. And if it doesn't work, it's fine, because I've already created safety for me, right? And this is just an example of a play that I did years ago with that. And it explains to you how I did it. Now, what you'll hear me say is I'm farming this, or I'm riding the wave, right? So what would have been the easiest wave to ride today? It would have been down, the market, right? Monday I said I expect weakness. I'm leaning more to the weak side than I am, but I'm willing to go whatever. And I believe Nate, I heard him say he was looking to put on some shorts as well. So it would have been a lot easier to short rips, buy dips, or short rips, cover on dips, right? Than to try to buy dips and sell rips. I'm still making money, but it would have been easier to flip it. Either way, I'm riding the wave, right? It's like short cover, short cover, short cover. And ultimately what you end up with is a chart like this, right? So this is the long side, this is the short side, right? So it's like you're shorting, covering, shorting, covering, right? Covering. Oh crap! Oh, it's gonna let me cover. Oh, I'm gonna hit it again as it's breaking out the new highs. Short, right? Long, short, right? That's all you're doing. That's all it is. Does that make sense? So how many arrows do you guys see on this? Right? That's how many trade just one ticker was. Okay? And that's how you scalp. And this ended up being 500,000 shares traded. So that ends up with a lot, right? There was literally 500,000 shares traded. Now, what you're trying to get is quick hitters. Discipline is a must. You're using technical analysis. You're going to use larger size. You don't want to hold overnight. And ideally, you want to use hotkeys. I've got, my mouse has literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 12 buttons on it. And literally, I have keys on my mouse where I just click it and I'll buy. And I have click it and I'll sell. There's things you can buy that you can set up and it'll look something like this. But that's it. That's kind of the intro to scalping. So let me get back into DPL. And let me catch up on chat real quick. Yeah, what are your trades? Mine are last in, first out. It helps me keep up with it. You know, you can deal with it whatever you want for tax purposes. Um, so yeah, that's what I use. Yeah, the mouse. It's a gaming mouse. It's a Razer something. I'll take a picture of it. Um, yeah, I'll find what brand, what model or whatever it is. But it's got 4 buttons on the side. It's got 3 buttons on the top, and then it's got some buttons on the right side, and then your normal, left right button and mouse wheel. Okay. Scalping with options, yeah. So anytime that you're dealing with options, here, we'll pull one up. We'll pull up some examples. Let's see if we can just scalp something real quick. Where are we on the Qs and SPY? Uh, it's a little late, but here, I'm just going to show you some examples. Do not follow me. I'm just trying to do this to make teaching points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the SPY 505 calls. Okay. Do you see? Can you guys read these numbers? 135 by 136. John, I've done that. I've accidentally hit buttons many a times. And you're like, oh crap. But you can see we can scout these SPY options easily, right? Like here, I'll buy. What do you want to buy? 100 of these things? 10 of these things? One of these things? 50 of these things? Like I'm not going to get slippage, right? See, 100 just went through, right there, 136, right? Like you're not going to get slippage on this. Now, if we were to switch it over to NVIDIA and we're like, hey, let's trade the at the money. So let's trade, 870s. Well, by market ordering in and out of these, you're losing 25 cents, right? So you don't want to market in and out of these. So this makes it harder to scalp, right? You can still do it. You just have to play off the bid and the ask. It requires pushing buttons instead of market ordering in and out all the time. So you have to decide whether or not you can scalp whatever you're trying to play. I play AMD all the time with with options, and I scalp all the time because literally there's 10 cent, 5 cent spreads on these things. Right? It's not that big of a deal. So like if we were to go to the 170s, you got a 5 cent spread. That's not a big deal. I'll scalp that all day, right? So you have to determine whether your options are scalpable. The difference between a scalp and a snipe, that ultimately what you're doing with the sniper trades is you're scalping the indices. So what Nate G has developed is an idea that where when we get to an oversold or overbought or too far in one direction, you usually get the yin to the yang move, and you're just scalping that bounce. That's it. That's all you're doing. That's exactly what a sniper trade is. It's just simply a scalp, right? And so I'll give you an example of some that were scalp plays. Like right here, a great opportunity for a scalp play, right? Boom, boom. And then guess what? Scalping this back down was another great opportunity, in my opinion. But guess what? It was another good opportunity, in my opinion. I would have tried scalping it as it was coming into this area, and I would have lost, right? Because it's probably triggered all the same things. It just didn't work this time, which is fine. And that's why I was looking at it right here. I wanted to scalp this move that we're getting right now. It's like, hey, this is a great opportunity to try to scalp the SPY, right? Or whatever else. I mean, you could do it with AMD, Amazon. Like, what? It's probably going to all move together, right? AMD, sure. So, any questions on the scalping aspect, right? Because once you understand scalping, how to do it, what you're trying to do, it comes down to setting up pivot points, support and resistance, right? Whatever you want to call it. Well, how do you get those? Well, you get them through volume profile. You get them through technical analysis, all right? What do most people play? Most people play the top of candles, right? So, for example, if we were to look at Costco, and we were to just not looking at VP, from where we are now, what do you think is going to happen if Costco breaks this high right here? What do you think? What do you guys think is going to happen? If Costco breaks 732.44, what do you guys think is going to happen? Again, this is just technical analysis. Technical analysis 101. It's going to, according to technical analysis, it's going to break out and go, right? You've broken the high. You should now push, and the goal should be to take it back to the next high. That's technical analysis, right? So it's like, boom, we break out, we hit the next high, we come back, we retest, we flag, we break again, we go to the next high, right? And if we can get in a trending stock that's trending in the right direction, we can ride the wave up, right? And or down, however you want to look at it, okay? And so that's how people play. Well, what I figured out was technical analysis doesn't quite get you the levels, because sometimes it'll break out and then it'll retest, and instead of bouncing off 732.44, it'll come down to 732. Well, why? Because that's where the majority of the buyers were, right? And so that's where I want to start getting in. And then after you develop pivot points, it's like, here's a major, here's a minor one. I want to play off of these levels. So, for example, on NVIDIA, for me, do you guys remember this big purple line up here? This was the resistance from this morning that we were playing. And it's like, all right, I'm taking some of my 30-minute off into this play, right? It's working great. So now that it's coming back down to these levels that we originally bought the 30 minutes off of, right? The 30-minute TTM squeeze. Now that it's coming back into these levels that we were buying it off of, let me see if I can absorb down here within these levels. Give me one sec. Charlie's in my ear. I'm actually gonna mute. I'm gonna mute him a little bit. All right, there we go. And so now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to scalp into another position, right? So that I can possibly play this as a binary event for today, right? But these levels are all because of VP. The chart patterns and everything that I'm thinking of is technical analysis. Now that this inverted head and shoulders is a good quiz for everybody. Now that this inverted head and shoulders is broken, what's the next option for a bullish? If I'm thinking bullish bounce, what's the next pattern that's going to set up on an intraday setup here? Right? If the inverted head and shoulders happens, if the inverted head and shoulder breaks, you're most likely to do what? Yeah, you got to form a possible W, right, which would be a double bottom, and or another inverted head and shoulders, right? So now what I'm looking at is, all right, as I've been scalping, as I've been buying and selling, as it comes down to this low, right? Well, if this low can hold, we put in a lower right shoulder and we break back above this level, well, that's a good double bottom to bring it back up. Yeah, let's go. Or if it were to push up into this 874.5 area and then come back and retest this 871, well, now you got another, inverted head and shoulders opportunity. And you just do this over and over and over again when you're trying to absorb into the levels, and eventually it's going to work if it's a good company. Because literally this is exactly what I did for my SPY long terms when the market was puking back in 2022. So when the market was looking like this, up here, it's like, I get it. We're it's not worth bouncing quite yet. I would still, not worth bouncing for long term. I would still play it as a scalp. But I actually started trying to bounce for long term into this range, right? We break new lows. Let's try to bounce it, bring it back, blah blah blah. Broke new lows, got to stop out. And eventually I got to the point where we were down. Once we were down 25%, I was just buying. But if you're absorbing here, selling here, absorbing here, selling here, absorbing here, selling here, eventually you're going to get a right, absorb here, sell here. Eventually it's like, oh, we finally got the inverted head shoulders. We finally got the W, and now we're turning. And I've got such a great cost basis that I don't want to be in a hurry to sell this thing, because it was hard to dig the hole that's going to bring in the water. Okay. Does that make sense? So that's scalping. That's how you combine it with technical analysis. That's how you combine it with VP. And that's how you combine it with whatever edge that you can find. A lot of people play VWAP. Has anybody ever traded with anybody that just strictly plays VWAP? They'll have things that, like, they'll play it off the bounce of VWAP. If it breaks VWAP, they'll short it against VWAP, right? They use that as the over-under. So, okay. And again, these pivot points, these support and resistance lines, the more volume they have, the more important they are, because there's more people there. So if we were to look at the SPY, like right now, if we were to look at the SPY and say, what do you guys think is more important? Do you guys think this level is more important? Or would you call this a major pivot point versus this one right here? Which one's more important? Well, obviously it's the one with more people, right? So this would be a major pivot point. This would be a minor pivot point, right? So if I'm trying to bounce it off of here, it's like taking it off of volume area low. So volume area low and volume area high are usually minor pivot points, where the point of control is the major pivot points. And so what you try to do a lot of the times is you'll buy on the lower dips, bring it back to point of control, right? Okay. I think that answers those questions. Yeah. So do you guys remember last week we said, hey, 505 is that level? 505 is that level. If we push the 505 was the easy money. Pushing from 505 to 510 is going to be a little bit harder, right? So we got the easy money. Well, guess where we are overall in the markets? We're right back to that 505 level, right? And I think the market's just comfortable here. Like, I to be honest with you, I don't think we're going to break down this level, these purple lines here today. We could, don't get me wrong. I just don't think we will. I think the market's comfortable with this. And we'll see earnings, and that'll determine whether we go up and down from this point. So I think it gives for a good opportunity for a bounce into the close, or at least after lunch. So if there's something that you like, I think trying to absorb it and take shots at it. I think we're getting. Let me look at the keys real quick. You want to look at. It's not as far as I thought. I thought we'd be further away from VWAP. There's standard deviations where you get away from something. I thought we'd be further away, but I guess we've gone sideways twice here. So, let me see if I can find a trade for us to do real quick. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Mindset trader, yeah, it'll be recorded. It's unfortunately it's two recordings because this OBS stopped working for whatever reason and shut down. Um, okay, guys. So for me, what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna try to play a bounce. Let me paraphrase this with: there's been zero buying today. I mean, you know what I mean. Like, I don't pay attention to the ticks. Anybody pay attention to the ticks? What's the highest the ticks have been today? Right? Nobody's interested in buying today. However, I think we're getting down to a point where even if we don't bounce, I think we'll hold. Okay? So, I'm doing 0 DTE options on the SPY. Now, what you have to do when you're playing 0 DT options, you have to be, your risk profile should be that the options go to 0, literally. So if you're going to buy, if you want to risk like $100, buy an option that's $1 and that's it. Does that make sense? Man, these options are juiced. Nate G, are you around? Are these 0 DTEs more juiced than they normally are? They seem to be. I normally can get one for like at the money for under $1. Yeah, I can share. I can share the PowerPoint. They're not. They're not juiced more. Okay. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I thought I usually got like a 0 DTE at the money for around $1. Maybe I'm doing it more later in the day. All right, yeah. So I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna play the 505s, and again, guys, the risk here is 0, right? So whatever you're comfortable playing, that's what I would play. Now, with that being the case, ultimately, what I would love to see happen is, a counter trend trade into the close that just squeezes all the shorts to death, right? Will we get it? I have no idea. So the ultimate goal here is, let's see if we can. I'm going to buy one of 3 positions here. So, $1.15. I'll try to gain it around $1, and then maybe again around 75 cents, 85 cents, to see if we can get a push back to ultimately VWAP, be able to take, quarter, half off, and then see if we can squeeze the shorts into close. Does that make sense? That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the 505 calls on the SPY, 0 DTE, which is today, which means April 30th, right? But again, I'm literally playing counter trend, right? Just be aware. Don't nobody yell at me if this doesn't work. An example of a great sniper, type scalp play is VRT. So do you see how I've got this big white line at VRT at 91.45? So how many of you guys were freaking out when VRT was going from 95 down to the 91 and you're like, right? Well, instead of freaking out, seeing that there's a support level here and saying, you know what, let me see if I can scalp out maybe from here back to VWAP, right? You could have captured $2 out of this, right? And that would have lowered your original cost basis from your original purchase. So that's the same idea that we're trying here on the SPY. We'll see if it works.